As our science editor Lawrence McGinty reports.
Dolly, the world's first cloned mammal, and the first sight on television of her offspring Bonnie, the result of a natural mating. But until today, some scientists doubted that Dolly was a real clone. They thought there could have been a mix-up. Now, these genetic fingerprints prove that Dolly is what her creators said she was, a real clone made from the genetic material taken from an adult sheep. And in Hawaii, scientists have done the same thing, but using mice. That's crucially important. Not only does it show that cloning can be done for other species, but also mice are easy to breed in the laboratory. Future research to unlock the secrets of cloning will be much easier.
The success rate in cloning is fairly low, and with the ability to work with mice will allow us to more systematically examine the factors that affect success rate.
The cloning of mice raises intriguing, perhaps frightening possibilities. Scientists took a single cell from a mouse. The nucleus of this cell was removed and then transplanted into an egg which already had its nucleus removed. The egg cell then grew into a new mouse, identical to its parents, with the same genes. And to prove this was no fluke, the scientists repeated the process, producing 21 more identical cloned mice. So if it works with mice, why not with humans? There are now no theoretical boundaries. Take a cell from a human body, put the nucleus into an egg cell and grow it into an early embryo. Take some cells from this early embryo, grow them into human tissue, for example, liver, which could be transplanted back into the body from which it came to replace diseased tissue. The body won't reject it, it's got the same genes.
I would see that as a morally fully defensible technology, provided that the safety issues are addressed. But that is quite different from the cloning of an individual.
Creating new human beings in the same way that Dolly was made is seen by scientists as unnecessary and repugnant. Lawrence McGinty, News at 10.
The number of days sick leave taken by civil servants, health workers, police and firemen was slammed today, 17th day in a row. The heat is now blamed for at least 129 deaths in 7 states. Ben McCarthy reports.
In many parts of the states, they're doing what they can to try and stay cool. But with temperatures hitting over 100 degrees for more than a fortnight, the heat is taking its toll. The emergency services have dealt with hundreds of casualties caused by the stifling conditions. The elderly are most at risk.
We just want to check and see if you're all right, and you too.
Aid workers have been visiting homes to get food and drink to those who can't brave the temperatures outside. Texas is one of the worst hit areas, but it's spreading northwards, and now everyone is trying to beat the heat. Across the states, swimming pools have been ordered to stay open for longer, and air-conditioned public buildings are being used as shelters from the sun.
Today, once again, we're predicted to go up to 100 degrees or above that. No shelter from that afternoon searing heat.
And the weather forecasters can't explain what's going on.
Direct cause, you know, we can't put our finger on. It's just something that happened. Very strong high pressure built over the Gulf of Mexico and maintained itself right through the spring.
With air conditioning working flat out, electricity supplies are being hit and some cities are facing blackouts. Forecasters say temperatures won't drop for at least another week. Ben McCarthy, News at 10.
Nuclear waste pale into insignificance compared with Russia's. There, one reprocessing plant alone is said to have released 5 times as much radiation as Sellafield, Chernobyl, and all the world's atmospheric bomb tests put together. Nuclear watchdogs say there'll be an ecological disaster on a global scale if that waste is carried by rivers into the Arctic Ocean. Until then, the people living near the plant, near Lake Karachay in western Siberia, are paying a terrible price in cancers and other health problems. Our Moscow correspondent Mark Webster has tonight's special report.
It looks idyllic, but there's death in this river. Contaminated with nuclear waste, the water is killing the carefree children who play here. Over a decade, 70 million cubic meters of radioactive waste was dumped into the River Techa. Only now is its bitter legacy becoming clear. It's etched in pain on the faces of its victims. Bratislava has only 6 months to live. Children like these who grew up along the river's banks are twice as likely to suffer from leukemia and 30% less likely to survive it.
This child is from the contaminated area, and we have very many family history where not only one child, but one or two sips from this family has different tumors.
Muslimova, in the heart of the affected area, is a village of the sick and dying. Birth defects like 12-year-old Albina's are common. All her family are sick. 2 of her young cousins have spinal cancer. Anger at the complete absence of help promised by the government, her mother told me, had long ago given way to despair.
3, sometimes 4 people die in this village every day. Most have cancer.
Farming contaminated food in irradiated soil. Muslimova's 2,500 people shouldn't even be here. 40 years ago, an accident at a local nuclear weapons plant covered this whole area with a deadly nuclear cloud. Everything they eat and drink is still affected, yet only after Chernobyl were they told what had happened. At the village hospital, the doctor said 6-year-old children wake at night screaming with pain from swollen joints. With no money from the government since February, she surveys an empty dispensary, and people like this 53-year-old cancer victim just come here to die.
We badly need medicine. Not only medicine. We don't have any bed linen or even food.
But for the thousands of people who live along the banks of this river, there's not a crumb of comfort from the Russian government, which says it simply doesn't have any money with which to help them. What's more, the nuclear pollution, which has made this river so deadly to the local inhabitants, is bound to remain a problem for years to come. And even worse, the source of that pollution, which is not very far from here, is every summer releasing a deadly cloud of nuclear dust, which frequently heads in this direction. It's the nuclear waste which was dumped in Lake Karachay which poses the next problem. It can only be filmed in the winter when snow and ice cover the radioactive dust. Then trucks, their cabs lined with 5 tons of protective lead, slowly fill this lake in, a job which will take another 30 years. Some say Russia doesn't have that long.
The rivers are in danger of being contaminated because the nuclear material from the lake is likely to leak into the water system.
There is the chance for a serious ecological disaster.
Fresh graves testify to the human cost of Russia's nuclear failings. Many here fear the worst is yet to come. Mark Webster, News at 10, Muslimova, Western Siberia.
The new football season started tonight with the first European Cup competition qualifying.